So if you did not write it at the top of your sheet already, I would, where you go quiz Friday.
Quiz Saturday.
I'll stop by the house. But then it'd be like an essay quiz. You don't want that. You just want the matching one. Remember, quiz is going to be matching. It's all the words. So whatever 20 terms we have on here, they are going to be showing up on your quiz as well. Some of the words you'll see are underlined as you get down to like numbers 3 and 4 and things like that. For any of the terms that are underlined, it's saying to provide an example of the term. Main reason being on the quiz where you'll be matching definitions. You could be matching definitions or you could be matching examples. So there could be a definition of like a hyperbole, or there could be an example of a hyperbole. So it's making sure you know which is which. All right? Basically, all we're going to do today is we're just going to run through them. A lot of the terms, again, you're already going to be familiar with, but the ones that you might be a little shaky on, we'll be able to take care of those things. So make sure you got the list out, pencil or pen, and then we'll be good to go. Tommy, do you know what a foot is?
No, that's what I just asked. I do.
You don't know a foot?
Yeah.
Foot bone's attached to the ankle bone, or however that goes?
The leg.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
A foot? I know what that boy is. They're one of the really short ones.
No, it's the last one.
What happened to your voice?
But that is ain't that one of the really short ones?
Short what?
The short poems, you know? It's like at the bottom of the page.
That's a footnote.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Isn't a foot something?
Something you can walk on. It's 12 inches. What about meter? 3 feet. Almost. All right, so when it comes to poetry, for meter and foot, and you also feet would end up being a term as well. Meter is basically the same thing as rhythm. So think of meter as a consistent pattern of stressed, which we'll get into these, and unstressed, if I can spell.
Oh. What's that word again? Consistent?
So, oh, I didn't realize it erased that part. Oops.
What is that?
It's consistent.
Oh.
What's it?
Who knows at this point? So,
What's it trying to say?
good call. So it's rhythm. So it's going to be a consistent pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. So when you talk about a poem's meter, you're not talking about the length of the poem. It's not that it's going to be a 36 or 39 inch poem, but it would be the pattern. Think of it as like within a song, similar to being the beat or a rhythm that a song would have. So within, not going to apply necessarily to all poetry, but you would have a consistent pattern, rhythm, use of words that would be going on within most poems. So the meter is that overall rhythm. A foot is related to the rhythm, where a foot is like a singular metrical unit. So there's a pattern that would be taking place within a meter. A foot is one segment of that pattern. So it's literally just, and we'll go into examples of it, one metrical unit of a poem's meter. And I'll give you some examples for it. This would be metrical. So a foot, one metrical unit of a whole pattern. So a single line of poetry tends to have many feet too. Last year, did you read Romeo and Juliet? Or some did, some shaking head.
Yes.
If you read any Shakespeare play last year, whether it be Romeo and Juliet, Twelfth Night, or anything like that, most of his plays are written in what's called iambic pentameter, which is going to be the meter. So 1 foot of iambic pentameter is a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables that keeps kind of going back and forth,
I
back and
thought that
forth.
said
back.
lamb.
That's what I was saying. It was one of the real short ones.
Iambic. So a foot's not going to be a whole poem though, but it'll be like part of a poem. It could be a word, it could be a couple words, depending on what the meter is. So for numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, these would all be examples of different type of feet that would be out there. So a foot is a metrical unit of one metrical, singular metrical unit. Numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 would all be
Types of.
examples or types of feet. And we'll start explaining those coming up here. For your quiz on Friday, you have to memorize what the meter is for iambic, trochaic, anapestic, dactylic, and spondaic. You don't have to have words to memorize what kind of meter this is, because that gets to be a little too arbitrary, which we'll kind of go into some examples for.
Hair, back.
Sounds like a dinosaur. And anadiplosis, but that's a whole other term. All right, so number 3, this is iambic, so that's an I, I-A-M-B-I-C. The pattern for iambic means that it is unstressed, stressed. So if it is written in iambic meter, you're going to have a constant wave of unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress throughout.
How do you mean stress?
Good call. Number 1, Zach, when we're talking about unstressed stress, this is going to be syllables. So if you have a word that is written in iambic meter, it's going to be a 2-syllable word, or 2 words that are 1 syllable. The sign that you make, if something's unstressed, you put a little U above it. It's called a cup. If it's stressed, it just gets like a dash. So that lets you know that it's unstressed, stressed. Anyone think of any 2-syllable words? Say hello.
Kitty cat.
Ugly.
Kitty cat's 3.
Kitty cat.
And 2 words. It can still be 2, since it's 2 syllables. You could still
Monday.
get away with that.
Monday.
Monday. Don't write down any of these words. Shaw, you said hello?
Monday.
I said ugly.
Monday. We'll stay out of names. Ugly.
I kill people.
Hello. Which syllable, hello, do you think you put more emphasis on? And so the one that gets more emphasis is usually the one that's stressed. So, and we tend to kind of exaggerate. Do you go, hello,
Yes.
hello?
Both.
And it could kind of depend upon the situation. And if you listen to a song, especially when you start getting into like rhyme and meter, sometimes you'll change the way that you say a word so that it fits better into a meter. Since you said hello, do you think first or second would get more emphasis most of the time?
Oh, you're weird then.
So you're going unstressed, stressed. Hello.
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 Oh.
What about Monday?
Monday.
Monday. Monday.
Monday.
I get the sense you're going Monday.
I can't tell.
Luke. Ugly. Ugly.
You're ugly.
Ugly.
You're ugly.
The you gets the
Ug.
sweat.
Ugly. Money.
No, they're the same.
Money.
They're the same.
Money. Money. Money's a tough one. I think money probably goes more that way, where you elongate the E sound a little bit. So, what would happen? Shh, listen up. Luke, pay attention.
I don't know where my phone is.
It should be in your pocket, away from anybody.
Someone stole it.
Oh well, I'm worried. So of these words that you would have here, for terms that would be iambic would be hello and money. Now again, depending how you say the word or the way in which the context is getting used, they can change. So they're not necessarily set in stone as always being pronounced this way. But it would mean that you're going unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed with your syllables. So we said, I already forget which ones we said. Hello and money. So, hello, money, oops, wrong one.
Hello, money.
If you have words that tend to have like a prefix, I have a remark to make. The prefix more often than not will be unstressed, and then like the root word would be stressed. Some terms take a word like dislike. You might say, I have a dislike of something, and you emphasize the like, which I think would be the natural way. But if you're really trying to emphasize, I dislike this, you might change the way in which you normally say it. But I think dislike would kind of be like remark, money, hello, where unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. If iambic is unstressed, stressed, what do you think trochaic's going to be? It's the opposite. So this is going to be stressed, unstressed. So, and again, we'll put that lines there. So today is Monday, stressed, unstressed. That baby is ugly. Hey, babies can be ugly.
They're ugly.
Just because it's a little baby doesn't mean it has to be cute.
They're funny to play with, but they're ugly as heck.
I want to punch you,
If today was Friday, 9th period, what would your emotion be? Assuming you don't have a test.
Sad.
You would probably be
Jen.
happy. So iambic, unstressed, stressed, trochaic, stressed, unstressed. So again, for the quiz that you would do on Friday, I'm not going to have a word up there like hello or money and you identifying which pattern it would be, because it certainly could be arbitrary depending on how you say the term. But if it does have, the meter of this would be unstressed, stressed, expectation would be you identify that as being
So what does antiseptic mean?
anapestic. You got a guess?
I got it.
It's actually 3 syllables.
Stress, stress, unstressed.
Opposite.
Unstressed, unstressed, stressed.
Yep. Unstressed, unstressed, stressed.
Should we put these symbols?
I think it's easier than writing unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Whatever's going to help you remember it best, I guess, would be what you would want to do. Now again, you could have like 3 words. You could have a 2-syllable word and a 1-syllable word. For all the examples, I think it's easier just to kind of come up with a 3-syllable word that would work for it. Kit, kitty, cat. Kitty, kitty, cat. Kid.
Cat. Kitty cat.
It's hard to have a single word without one of the syllables being stressed, which makes kitty tough.
Cat.
Kitty cat! Just stress all of them. How'd math class go? Angelina? What did you cover? I have no idea.
Complex fractions.
Do you get how those things work?
No.
No? So you do not what? Understand. Understand.
I understand.
Comprehend, which would basically be synonym
Is there
comprehend.
any other one that goes like unstressed, and that's just it?
No, because here's the thing. Good question. Keep in mind, all of these are examples of types of feet. Okay, so iambic is a foot, trochaic is a foot, anapestic is a foot. So, and we're not going to get into this type of specific stuff with your quiz. If you wrote an iambic poem, you would come up with how many syllables you would want it to be. Say you go 10 syllables for a line. So can't write today. Every line of poetry would go like that. It would go back and forth, back and forth. If you did something that was anapestic, unstressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, unstressed, stressed. So you keep repeating these. If you were to go with something that was unstressed, that would mean the whole entire poem would have to be unstressed throughout. It would also be tough to do what? Have every single syllable be stressed the whole way throughout. Now, one of the terms on there actually is for a stressed foot, and that's where you'll sometimes have people go, this is an iambic, and then spondaic is the one that's stressed, where this is an iambic spondaic poem where they kind of combine the two. But there aren't any words solely unstressed. You could have a poem written with this anapestic where you have more unstressed syllables than stressed, but it's not going to be unstressed the whole way throughout.
That depends on how you read it now, right?
Sure.
So any poem could be.
And you might have a line, and like again with music, this happens all the time, where you could have a line where it's still important to the song or the poem, but you don't want to emphasize it as much, so it might not be sung as loudly or whatnot. And you could argue that line is kind of unstressed. But at some point throughout the poem, there's usually something that's going to get emphasized, and that's why you're not going to have that much stress. At the same time, the one that is stressed, you're not going to like yell and scream a poem. At least I wouldn't recommend it. Zach, what was your initial guess for anapestic? You said.
I said stress, unstressed.
Okay. Dactylic is the opposite of this, where it is stressed and then it's followed by two unstressed. So stressed, unstressed, unstressed. Anyone take their world history midterm last week? Was it last week or the week before?
I had double bucks, so it was.
Or it was Thursday. It was Thursday, I think, before it missed. Yeah.
For the second semester. It was a while.
Yeah, for double block had
Like last Thursday or something. Was that your semi-formal? That's not the grand ball.
Yeah, just
Semi-formal. Did you get your grade yet?
yeah. I'm not. I didn't really like right into the semester for
How'd you do?
not good.
That's not the answer I was looking for.
Oh,
I did excellent.
excellent. I did exceptional.
Excellent.
I had an E.
Excellent.
Oh, that's true. That is good. If you can
Exceptional.
Wait, is umbrella anapestic?
Phenomenal. I did phenomenal.
I got a 10
Yeah.
on that.
No. I mean dactylic.
Phenomenal.
I'd say umbrella. I think is how most people would go.
I go.
I did phenomenal.
under my umbrella.
Hello.
Oh.
There's a city. There's a city in New York, not New York City,
Manhattan.
not Albany.
Manchester.
Staten Island.
And I think a lot of folks would go Buffalo.
I went to there.
You can drive your future English teachers crazy by writing Buffalo, 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 and that would be a complete sentence.
Really?
You can use buffalo as a noun, as an adjective, as a verb.
How is it a verb?
To buffalo someone is to trick someone or something.
What does the sentence really mean?
Well, so you could say buffalo, 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 meaning buffaloes from the city of Buffalo trick other buffaloes from the city of Buffalo. That would be 5.
Oh,
I think you can go up to
alright.
11 and it's still correct. I don't
I'll
remember
just
all
write
of
my
them.
whole essay like that.
That would be a
There's
4
another
essay.
word like that, isn't there?
What if it's about buffalo? I'd get sick of those words. Buffalo, buffalo, buffalo.
Isn't there another word like that too?
That's so cool.
Probably.
Probably.
Last one, spondaic. Spondaic is 2 syllable. Both are stressed. Both are stressed. And again, that doesn't mean you're going to go, I like Monday, or yay for money. But if you were to take compound words, words that are made up of 2 smaller words, they tend to be spondaic. So the Bills in Buffalo play.
Football.
If you're not sure how much time is left in the game, all you need to do is look at the
Scoreboard.
I was about to say before.
Game clock.
I was hoping someone would. Yeah, game clock would work, same way. But it tends to be that you have words that are compound words, that they will be, assuming they're both 1 syllable, that they would end up being spondaic. If you lose your power and you need to stay warm, some people might have a fireplace that you could use. Well, then you get a little too much.
What are you talking about? Yeah, generator, you can have those outside your house in case your power goes out, and then you can just hook that right up.
So, going back here, that what we had, the first 2 terms, you have a foot, which is a metrical unit of meter. The feet, you have multiple feet, together make a poem's meter, and then 3 through 7, iambic through spondaic, these would all be examples of type of feet that would exist. So within your quiz, again, it's not going to be the word buffalo, scoreboard, ugly, you trying to match up which one, but it would be expected that Tyler's going to know iambic is going to be unstressed stress, that trochaic is going to be stressed unstressed. So you're going to want to kind of keep reminding yourself what would be words, what would be the pattern that would fit into those different types. All right. For number 8, it's not a type of foot by any means, but if you scan, this is when you're simply identifying what the type of meter is. So if you got the directions that you need to scan a poem, your job would be to identify the stressed and unstressed syllables. So identifying the stressed and unstressed syllables in a poem.
You write so fast.
And that one's actually kind of legible.
I wrote, I started writing 10 seconds before you finished. I wrote less than
So in Shakespeare's poetry was saying that, okay, you have a repetition, and I'll go back to the definition, that you have a repetition. How many metrical feet do we have for this one right here?
5.
There are 5. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this type of poem would be called iambic, pen, meaning 5, tameter. So that would let you know that there's going to be 5 sets of iambic feet. If you were to go that it's written in dactylic pentameter, dactylic means that there are 3 syllables, so rather than having 10 syllables like you do in this line, you would have 15 if it was dactylic pentameter. If you wanted to write something that was trochaic, but you wanted to have fewer lines, you could do trochaic where it would be triameter, and that means you would only have 6. So that's kind of coming up with what the pattern is. we're not going to worry about identifying which one's pentameter and quadtrameter and all that kind of stuff.
Right, Jillian?
So, definition again for scanning, identifying the stressed and unstressed syllables in a poem. Last one, free verse.
Well, nice at that. I said it on Mars with that.
So, what's free verse?
Rapping.
No.
Rhythm and poetic.
No rhythms rap.
No rhythm.
You ever rap, Mr. Canadian?
Free verse, a type of poem that does not have a set meter. It could rhyme, it doesn't have to rhyme, but if it's free verse, there is not any set meter to it. Any questions on 1 through 9? All right, now for 10 through 20, a lot of these we're going to already be familiar with, especially I would think 10 and 11 because you're dealing with more figurative language that would be going on. For number 10, extended metaphor, we're already familiar with a metaphor where it's going to be an unlike comparison without using like or as. If it's an extended metaphor, then that means you're going to have the poem is going into detail about that metaphor. So essentially you have an entire poem is built around a metaphor, a singular metaphor. So it's the same metaphor throughout. There's a poem that 11th grade class took a look at a couple weeks ago. It's called Dialogue Between Soul and Body. The soul is having a conversation with the body. And the metaphor that keeps going back and forth is that being the soul is like being trapped in a dungeon. You are behind bars, you're behind the ribcage of the body. I can't escape the body, I have to do whatever the body does. The only way I can escape is if the body dies. So the whole poem is built around this metaphor of being stuck in the body is like being stuck in prison. So if you have a metaphor that shows up just one time in a poem, it's just going to be a regular metaphor. But if you have an entire poem that is built around this singular metaphor, that's what's going to make it being an extended metaphor. What do we do for personification?
Give a non-living figure.
You give,
Take
yep.
one of them inanimate objects. It starts talking.
It's like you're
Non-human or living objects are given human traits. So, for an example, you might do something that if you go to the beach, the waves were jumping. And a windy day during the fall, we might say the leaves whispered. I wrote non-human living objects are given human traits. There's a little bit of an argument as to what do you mean by non-human. Some people would consider giving animals human traits would be an example of personification. Others think that it has to be a non-living object for it to ultimately be personification. That's not a whole debate argument that we're going to get into with that today. So personification, it's a type of metaphor. And you could have personification being an extended metaphor, but it's where you're going to usually give non-living objects some kind of human-like quality to them. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at the different types of rhyme and all that kind of stuff. Tommy, what do you need? You good? If you did not submit research paper, please submit tonight so you only lose 1 day credit, and then if you need to bring in your checklist.